Hey guys, so this is the fourth video I'm posting today. The first three were documents of the evidence, the pounding. Here is an update. Since my mom had needed something at the store and it couldn't be delivered, there would be too much. It would be too risky. They could tamper with it, and plus it's difficult to get them to deliver it. I was putting it off, but I figured, no, I have to get the hell out of here for a little while. So I went and I picked it up today. Now, keep in mind, since 7 a.m. they had been pounding and pounding and pounding. But let me back up. So at around 7 something, they started pounding. They kept going on and off. And I did call to report it. And, because if I don't, then they can twist it back onto me and say, why didn't you say something? So I reported it, even though they never do anything about it. It never stops. Anyway, it was pounding again at 8, then pounding again at 9. So eventually someone came to our door, our next door neighbor came to our door, and hear that? Pounding again, tapping. She came to our door and she thought it was us. And I said, no, it's not. And and my mom was with me at that point, standing right with me. And we explained, yeah, they're still pounding. And, we explained to her, no, it's not us. And so even though I had called and reported it, and, I actually called 2 times. Once I spoke with the receptionist, then I called back and asked to be put through to the manager. And he said, yeah, they shouldn't have been doing that at 7 a.m. It was too early. They shouldn't have been doing it at 8 either. That's still too early. They're not supposed to until 9 o'clock. Anyway, so then they were still pounding. So the woman came to our door. She thought it was us, and I said, no, it's not. So we both went downstairs to talk to the person downstairs. So and then we went a floor up. Both of us went a floor up to start knocking on people's doors to find out what's going on. And of course we didn't get any information. Anyway, came back to the apartment. On and off they continued pounding, and I had to get the hell out of here for a little while. So I went to the store to pick up what my mom needed, and right from the start, first of all, they had these 2 Russian guys following me. I assume they were Russian. They were Eastern European, following me around. One ended up following me right to checkout. He was just always there, right to the checkout line. But they also had this woman start a directed conversation. She was on the phone, but she was looking at me, and she followed me for a while, and then she spoke loud enough for me to hear, talking about how this person, has everything paid for by their mother and this and that and the other. It was a directed conversation, and this bit, you keep something in mind here. Keep something in mind. These pieces of shit trash, these cowardly, pathetic, useless, they're getting paid to gather in a massive group to hunt, stalk, and terrorize lone targets who they don't know, who have done nothing to them, and who have no way to fight back. They're getting paid to literally, they're gathering in a massive group against someone who they don't believe can ever fight back. It's a coward's war. They have no real function in life, no real purpose. They're useless, but they're getting paid for that. Some of us are caregivers. We can't just go out and spend 8 hours a day outside with a salaried job. We just work for free. And of course, no matter what the price was, I would never take a job that involved doing what these perpetrators are doing to us. I would never do that. They knew that comment would piss me the F off. They knew it. They are pushing and pushing and pushing really hard now for that massive breakdown. That is exactly what they want. And keep in mind too, they've been doing other things too. So in the building, they have for the residents, you can't opt out of this. You have to, it's paid for. So we would opt out of it if it wasn't. But they have a dining room where they provide dinner and breakfast. It's part of the rent. It's and not lunch. You have to pay extra for lunch. But so we don't do breakfast. I make my mom breakfast. We just have a sign on the door saying no breakfast, because right now the dining room is closed because of the pandemic. So they actually bring the meals up. And we have a sign on the door saying no breakfast. I make my mom breakfast. Dinner she doesn't opt out of, because we're paying, so it's included in the rent, and it is pretty expensive. So when they, and I make her lunch, and then for dinner, when they come and bring it, I warm it up for her to make sure there's nothing in it, no bacteria, no viruses, no germs. And two, there are certain things that I have to do. Remember, she's really picky. If there's anything wrong with it, she won't eat it. She'll use it as an excuse to throw out the entire thing. It could be anything. If there's a little olive that looks out of place, she'll throw out the entire meal, and then that becomes an excuse not to eat anything. And this is something we went with I dealt with her, with I can't speak, I'm so tired. This is something I dealt with for a few years ago with her in the old apartment where, if we had something in the apartment, she didn't want it. And if we didn't have it, she would want it. So once I actually went out at close to midnight looking for what she wanted, and I brought it back, and there was one little thing wrong with it, and of course she refused to eat it. So I have to stand there picking things out of it, and making sure everything is just perfect, and trying to anticipate what she could find wrong with it, what could trigger her, and and it could be anything, and it's exhausting. So what they'll do is when they bring the food up, not only do I warm it up, I have to stand there and make sure everything is perfect so that she can't find an excuse to justify not eating it. And so they'll screw with it. Sometimes they'll do things, or sometimes they'll bring the wrong food. It's something they know she doesn't like. And there's a menu that we fill out. She'll tell me what she wants, and I'll fill it out for her. And they'll bring the opposite, or we'll cross out something and say, don't bring this anymore. And that's exactly what they'll bring. They're doing this a lot lately. Or sometimes they'll just skip our apartment altogether, and they're putting me in a down to their way situation where, they'll knock on the doors saying, room service, dinner's here. And sometimes they'll skip our door. And since they didn't knock on our door, I didn't answer it. I figured they were at someone else's door, and then they'll come back and bring it kind of testy. And once I heard someone make a comment about how, oh yeah, well, they knock and people don't answer, and then people complain and say they didn't come. Well, they didn't knock on our goddamn door. But then there's the reverse of it. I also heard, someone complain about how one time that, so if I don't go out, or if I do go out, I'm so tired, forgive me, I can't. Sometimes they'll knock, and in anticipation of that shit where, they'll blame me for not going to the door, I will go out and stand in the door even though they didn't knock on our door. When they shout room service, I'll just go out and wait in the door, and they'll get angry about that too. And I heard someone go back, and say, we didn't even knock on his door yet, and he's standing waiting. I should have waited my turn. So I'm being put in a damned either way situation. And it's hard. It's so brutal. I'm trying not to get a hardened heart over this and just lose my cool with them, because these are not, the privileged class. These are hardcore workers. They work hard, but it seems like every group, no matter who they are, regardless of class, regardless of any physical characteristics that separate us, regardless of religious belief, regardless of social belief or political views, it seems like people from all groups love to just join in a massive group against a common target. And they'll lie and manipulate and bullshit to do it. And I'm trying so hard not to get a hardened heart. And I've been a human rights activist for so long. This is an attack on soul level. It's body, mind, and soul. Sure, we're being attacked physically, but the real threat is to our mind and to our soul. And I'm trying so hard to pull back and pull back and pull back. It's so hard. It's so hard. And it seems like when I'm in the middle of something, they'll knock on the door, my hands are full, and I have to run to the door. But when I'm standing waiting by the door, I don't go out because I don't want to make them upset by going out too soon when it's not my turn. That's when they don't come. That's when they miss us, and I have to call downstairs and go through the motions of, hey, they skipped us again. Or they brought us the wrong food again when they bring us the wrong dinner. Her, my mom. I don't get dinner here, but my mom does. So yesterday I was waiting, and we have to wear a mask when we open the door. And I had my mask on, and I was waiting by the door. That's the day they didn't come. But when I'm in the kitchen with my hands full, and my hands are wet and soapy, that's when they do come. And to one guy, he's Yeah, I'm going to end this here. I'm tired. I know I'm leaving this out, but I don't want this video to be too long anyway. Just know that they're pushing hard now. They're pushing really hard for a breakdown. This just gets harder and harder. Remember, the pounding, we're stuck in this little godforsaken studio because of the friggin' pandemic. And my mom, it's stressing her out too. She's hissing under her breath more and more about Satan this and Satan that. And, we live in a studio. I can't get away from that either, and I love her dearly, but it wears you down. I'm so tired.